Cowboys, Bengals. Going through what y'all need to know to make some money on this bitch. So first, let's do the pick real quick. We got Cowboys favored on the road by 3.5, and over under set at 42. So I actually think both of the lines in this game are bettable. I'm going to be on the side of the Cowboys minus 3.5 actually, and the under. Now, quick warnings with that, which I'm going to get into more, but the under is super low. Cowboys have a trash defense generally, and there's a chance that with turnovers in this game, that under is just too low to keep the score down. And as far as the Cowboys go, you are talking about a bad betting on a bad team. So I'm never going to guarantee anything with teams like this, but I do feel it's bettable both ways. But stick around, I'll tell you how and why. That's how it go down. So first we got the Cowboys offense versus the Bengals defense. As far as injuries go on the Cowboys offense, um, Cam Irving starting left tackle out. I actually think the guy who's going to be playing for him as backup is just straight up better, Brandon Knight, and that's it. And then on the Bengals side, Mackenzie Alexander, slot corner, questionable. I think he's going to play. Um, so offensive line versus defensive line, right? Offense versus defense. So for the Cowboys, this is tough. I talked about my last Bengals video as kind of a lesson that the Bengals defense is actually pretty good. And you're going to see that on the front, especially in the run game, the Cowboys are not going to have an advantage. Now, they're not going to be awful. I don't want to overrate the Bengals, but the Cowboys' current interior of Connor Williams, Joe Looney, Connor McGovern, not good. Connor Williams, the best of the three, is not exactly anything special, especially at the line of scrimmage as a run blocker. He's better down the field, but you'll see there's going to be some issues with pushing the line of scrimmage, especially given how good Christian Covington is. I talk about him a lot when I talk about the Bengals because I think he's really underrated. He's a really good defensive tackle on the Bengals. He's going to be an issue, as well as Xavier Williams. Their nose tackle gets a lot of time. He's real. Mike Daniels, other nose tackle, pretty good too. Even at this age, as far as a run defender goes. So then on the edges, I mean, Cowboys tackles not good, not good run blockers. Darren Steele, Brandon Knight, they're actually fine. I don't think they're awful, but they're not necessarily good. And the Bengals edge run defenders are like really good. Sam Hubbard, Marcus Hunt, who listen, I still can't understand why the Saints let Marcus Hunt go. And you saw in his first game with the Bengals that he got on the field a lot, and there's a reason for it. He's a really good player. Um, so they're gonna really have a tough time running the ball. And on the second level too, I mean, that's where at least they have a little bit of hope. Bengals linebackers not really good. That's easily the weakest part of their defense. They're not awful though. Josh Bynes, especially as like a between or around the tackle box players, okay, but nothing special. And they still play one of Logan Wilson, who's by far gets most snaps, or Akeem Davis-Gaither. They're both rookies who struggle straight up. So there's chances there, but overall the run game, I mean, it's gonna be like mediocre at best, right? Like the reason you saw them able to run the ball a little bit against the Ravens in the first half on like Tuesday night was because the Ravens edge defenders without Matt Judon at that point are just not very good, especially as run defenders. Whereas here it's quite the opposite, and frankly, given the injury status of what Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams looked like for the Ravens, the Bengals interior is probably better as far as like this week goes as well. So you talk about the pass game. First, starting with the pass rush, again, there are really, really issues for the Cowboys, and this is a lot of the reason why I'm saying that. Well, I feel pretty good about the Cowboys winning this game and covering the spread. I will not guarantee it because you are talking about Andy Dalton behind a bad offensive line versus a decent front seven. Now, I will mention though that I think the Cowboys O line is actually maybe not quite as bad as they sound on paper with the names because their weakest spot, Connor McGovern, is just, I mean, he's a guard, and I've seen worse guards to be honest. And their tackles, I like Brandon Knight. Like I actually think he's okay. The guy's going to be starting left tackle, and Terrence Steele too. I mean, he gets a bad rap because what happened week one, and then people kind of wrote him off after that. He gave a pretty decent amount of pressure to Leonard Floyd week one on the Rams. And listen, he's not good, but I don't think he's that bad. And as far as pass rushers go on the Bengals, I mean, Carl Lawson's real good. He's going to have impact in this game certainly. But past that, they're as like a rushing unit aren't that great. And again, I want to mention Christian Covington on the interior, but he's a non-Aaron Donald interior rusher, so can't overrate that. So you talk about the receivers. Now here, this is the opposite of what I was talking about with the offensive line. This is the gigantic advantage for the Cowboys. Um, I like the Bengals secondary quite a bit, and there are games where I think they're really good. This is not what the Cowboys have an incredibly good receiving core still. Their stats don't reflect it because of the quarterback offensive line situation they're playing around, but Mari Cooper consistently is open, better not constantly is open and can drive play. Michael Gallup's really good, and CeeDee Lamb's he's good. Yeah, definitely not the best rookie receiver, but he's a for real useful player. And so while I like the Bengals secondary, and they actually get Darius Phillips starting corner back from IR this week. I don't know how much he's going to play, but you're going to see that while the Bengals corners limit them a little bit, they're not good enough to shut them down like even a little, like even kind of. So Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb are going to be able to do things down the field, including like big plays at times, getting away. Um, the quarterback versus the defense. Now, this again, Andy Dalton. So he's really going to struggle at times because of the state of his offensive line. Don't get me wrong, like for sure, for sure. But the Bengals pass rush, I would have to be overrating them to say that Andy Dalton is fucked. And with his receivers being so consistently open and useful in this game, uh, again, it's not crazy, but it's enough for him to have success at times, which is all he really needs here. So yeah, the overall pass game is going to be okay. I'm not going to go any higher than that because of Andy Dalton and because of the offensive line, but the receivers are good enough to drive play, and they will in this game. There is some danger from like Jesse Bates. Could easily have interception this game. There could easily be sacks and stuff. Listen, I have the Cowboys at a point like spread of 14-21, so I don't think they're going to be very good on offense. I just don't think over the course of the game with how many possessions they're going to get that I'm pretty positive they're going to find points at times. I was mentioning real quick, yeah, including if they get in the red zone, they're probably not going to be very good there. You don't like good there, but the receivers they win quick enough and are good enough. Like you saw CeeDee Lamb in the Vikings game, that crazy catch he made, things like that. They're good enough to cause touchdowns. So then on the Bengals offense versus the Cowboys defense, injury wise, on the Bengals, Jonah Williams on IR, starting left tackle, which is good for the Bengals. Jonah Williams is awful. That's just the end of it. He has been awful effectively every snap he's played in the NFL. Okay, not every snap, but he's it's better. They have a better chance of winning the game with him out. Because their backup, Akeem Adeniji, when he's played, actually has been like reasonable. Um, Now he's still like a rookie who isn't. I'm not gonna call him good or anything so far. He's barely played, but he hasn't shown anything near as awful as what Jonah Williams has. Bobby Hart's still awful though on the other tackle. Though, like, don't get me wrong, they're not good. I just wanted to point that out. Also, T Higgins listed as questionable, starting receiver. I think he's going to play. It does matter to me for sure if he doesn't because he's definitely the best receiver. And then on the Cowboys defense, starting safety Donovan Wilson's questionable. He played last week. I think he's going to play this week. And then Anthony Brown, kind of combo slot outside corner questionable. So offensive line versus defensive line. This is actually so normally Bengals offensive line is terrible, but here there's listen the Cowboys defensive interior is still real bad. It's not the worst in the NFL anymore because of Dontari Poe's absence, but still bad. And you're going to see that Quinn Spain, the Bengals got for free, who's a really good player, is gonna like matter in this game and be pretty good. Problem is he's still playing next to Trey Hopkins and Michael Jordan on the interior. I assume Michael Jordan. Maybe he gets benched back again for Alex Redmond or Xavier Su'a-Filo. But yeah, there's going to be some flashes of push, and I actually think it's a light advantage for the Bengals, but it's nothing crazy. And on the edges, they're going to be bad. Demarcus Lawrence, Alden Smith, really good edge run defenders. You saw when they were getting ran over by the Ravens. It's because of how the Ravens run their scheme, where they're putting the edge defenders into like option scenarios or misdirecting them with their back and forth like motions and stuff like that. That it takes away the effectiveness of how good the Cowboys' edge run defenders are. Here, that is not the case. Bengals' offensive scheme is garbage, and Demarcus Lawrence and Alden Smith are going to be able to make a real impact in that area. And then as far as the linebackers go, Cowboys linebackers still not very good, super mediocre, but they're going to be mostly okay here because the Bengals offensive line is not talented enough to affect them, and their scheme isn't good enough to like misdirect them, get them running the wrong way consistently. So they're going to be fine now. They're not going to make plays in the backfield because they never do with any level of consistency, but they're gonna be okay. So their overall run game is just, again, it's just like mediocre at best for the Bengals, and frankly, this is about as good as it gets for the Bengals in their current scenario. But yeah, you're just talking about a total lack of control on the edges and only mediocre interior push without affecting the linebackers. It's not good. So the pass game, edge rush first. Here, real issues on the edges. Um, Bobby Hart's awful. Alden Smith is legitimately good, and Marcus Lawrence is decent. So you're going to see quite a bit of pressure from that edge, and even on the other edge, like I said, Hakeem Adeniji, I want to see him get a chance and everything, but let's be clear that he is a like 5th or 6th round rookie who is trying to play against legitimate NFL pass rushers. It's not going to go well. Now, where I can guarantee that like Jonah Williams would have gotten beaten consistently, I can't guarantee that for Adeniji, but it's still probably likely that it's going to happen. So it might not look that different this game. On the interior, though, Cowboys have no presence on the interior as far as pass rush goes. So despite how bad the Bengals interior is, I actually think they're going to be. This is probably maybe the best game they play in terms of interior pass rush. So that sounds encouraging, right? Because you remember that I picked the Cowboys. So what's their, where am I going with this? And this is part of it. So next step is the receivers versus defense, and this is another game where Tyler Boyd is not good enough to beat the other team's slot corner. Cowboys secondary, given their current state of health, is actually pretty decent. You saw that in the Ravens game. That they're now Ravens run a really unique pass game. Don't get me wrong, but their corners at this point being Jordan Lewis, Chidobe Awuzie, and whether it's Anthony Brown or Reggie Robinson, who's actually been not a disaster when he played, are going to be able to limit the Bengals receivers. Tyler Boyd not good enough to separate from good slot corners, which I actually think Jordan Lewis is a pretty good slot corner. AJ Green, Jesus, he can't separate from anyone anymore. Although I will give him credit that if he can be open on like slants in this game fairly consistently and stuff like that. And T Higgins, if he plays, is going to be decent, but he's not a killer in of himself the way that like the receivers on the other side of the ball are. And if Chidobe Awuzie shadows him, frankly, I would probably give the advantage of that matchup to Awuzie. Now he's not going to shut him down, but T Higgins would be limited. So you're talking about like really mediocre receiving options, and the Bengals tight ends are awful, and so I don't care. You're talking about really mediocre receiving options, and then the quarterback is terrible. Brandon Allen is really, really, really bad. Versus the Dolphins, their only score of the whole game was on a 3rd and 1 wide receiver screen that went 75 yards from Tyler Boyd because the Dolphins had because they sent an all-out blitz with press on the outside, so it was a 2v2 scenario where there was just a good block, which I mean, good for them, I guess, but there's nothing repeatable about that. So yeah, Brandon Allen's terrible. He's constantly the reason his offense doesn't succeed, and he's not in a good situation here. Like maybe if he was playing a terrible defense, which I mean, generally the Cowboys are for sure, but it's not the case here. I'm telling you, Brandon Allen's still going to be really, really bad. Now, is there a chance that he connects on like a deep ball down the sideline to one of the receivers because they are pretty good in the air? Is there a chance the Cowboys blow coverages? 100% for sure. But just as far as consistency goes, despite having light advantages like on the offensive line at times, it's going to be really bad. And including when they get to the red zone, there's nothing to indicate any level of success in the red zone outside of random variance. So I have them at a point spread of 7-14, and that's honestly being generous by assuming that the Cowboys defense is going to fuck up, which isn't even as bad as they are. Isn't normally something I would ever assume or bet on. Which is why in this game I end up pretty decently with the Cowboys -3.5 because I think you just look at the Cowboys getting 10 to 12 possessions, some of them are multiple in good field position, and they're just going to eventually the receivers are going to cause plays that create points. Whereas on the Bengals side, no, their defense is probably going to get frustrated by the end of the game because their offense blows so bad, and you're going to end up with the Cowboys maybe putting a little bit of distance at the end of the game. Which is so given that too, I also feel good about the under, but just warning that the under is really low. And if the Cowboys, well, I don't know. Actually, I feel good about the under because I can't imagine that the Cowboys even with a defensive score get into the 30s, and if the Bengals get into the 20s, I've fucking floored. So both of them pretty good, but neither of them guarantees too bad and goofy of teams to guarantee anything. So that is Bengals Cowboys.